If you woke up one morning to find out that your house was now 200 miles away, would you be more surprised or scared? Probably both, but also confused because if your house is suddenly 200 miles away, then so is everything else. The ground beneath your feet is receding from the horizon in every direction at once, which means the entire planet is shrinking. You'd need to take off running just to keep your bearings as the distance between objects that were once familiar slowly turned into a great unknown. It's hard to overstate how bizarre it would be to live through such an event, even if it wasn't happening to you personally. You wouldn't be able to visit your friends, travel to work, or do anything else that relied on moving around the planet without facing an incredible journey across landscapes you've never seen before. Even worse, this mysterious shrinking Earth would cut off some countries and continents entirely from the rest of the world. So where could you go if you tried to leave the doomed planet? Welcome to our channel. And today we're answering the extraordinary question, what if the Earth was shrinking? A lot of things would have to go wrong for our planet to physically shrink, but some recent discoveries might make it a little less far-fetched than you'd think. While scientists have known for a long time that the Earth is slowly getting wider at the poles and flatter at the equator, no one knew why until recently. It was only in September of 2023 that researchers found evidence of liquid iron in the outer core of the Earth. This inner turmoil is causing chaos in the planet's structure, including bulging at the equator and flattening at the poles, but there's no need to worry just yet. Even though the Earth is about 6,800 kilometers wide at the equator, the inner churning is only making it 17 centimeters wider every year. That being said, something much more extreme would be needed to send the planet packing. So let's imagine that the Earth is actually made of layers of cake. We know that sounds ridiculous, but with all the crazy stuff going on inside our planet, why not throw a giant chocolate sponge into the mix? If our Earth cake was suddenly imploding, it would look like this. As the planet began to collapse in on itself, mountains would vanish into the thickening paste and oceans would turn into a dark chocolate sludge. When the crust started collapsing into the mantle, any lingering life on Earth would be cooked alive by temperatures reaching 4,000 degrees Celsius. But let's assume for a moment that somehow life still exists on our shrinking Earth cake. Where could it possibly go when the planet has shrunk down to half its original size? Well, as strange as it sounds, the answer might lie with an extinct animal, the dodo bird. Back in 1662, this flightless bird went extinct after evolving to survive on the island of Mauritius, isolated from predators and competition. Its ancestors had flown over from Madagascar long ago, evolved into a flightless subspecies and adapted to living on the ground. With no predators on the island, the dodos lived in peace until humans arrived and ate them all. But what if instead of going extinct, dodos had evolved to fly again and were simply too stupid to realize it? Those same evolutionary forces are constantly at play across the natural world. And if certain animals could evolve at a rate faster than the speed of light, they'd be able to outrun the shrinking Earth entirely. That's right, some creatures might be able to escape death itself by simply flying away. But for those poor saps that can't, they might want to seek shelter deep underground. After all, the deepest hole on Earth, the Kalima Super Deep Borehole, goes down 12 kilometers below the surface. That's deeper than the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest part of the ocean. So if you couldn't fly away from the planet fast enough, you could always try diving down deep enough to escape the destruction, but even that might not be enough. The deepest place on Earth isn't in the ocean or even on Earth at all, it's in space. Back in 2019, NASA discovered a hole in the planet's atmosphere 40 times larger than the United States. It was later dubbed the L1 hole because it's located near the Lagrange point L1, which is an area in space 1.5 million kilometers from Earth. Scientists aren't sure exactly how this hole appeared, but they're pretty sure that it's been expanding ever since it was discovered. And it turns out that L1 isn't the only gap in the planet's protective shield. In fact, our sun regularly blows out a stream of charged particles called the solar wind. The good news is that the Earth's magnetic field protects us from these dangerous particles. The bad news is that sometimes the solar wind manages to wriggle through the cracks and form a massive bubble of charged particles in space. And if this happens while the Earth is orbiting through it, well, you can say goodbye to the ozone layer. Without the protection of the ionosphere, the Earth would be bombarded by deadly cosmic radiation. So even if you manage to escape the planet's collapsing surface and dive to the deepest point in the planet's atmosphere, you'd still face certain death. There's only one place left to hide: outer space. If you were quick enough to build a rocket ship, you might be able to get off the planet before it destroys itself. But it's important to remember that there's no such thing as outer space. Everything in the universe is either on a planet or floating through space. The most obvious destination would be the moon, which is only 384,400 kilometers away. It's small, cold, and lifeless, but it does have gravity. Just don't stay there too long. Even if you manage to land safely, the gravitational pull of the sun would eventually drag you into a scorching death. In the end, the only way to escape a shrinking Earth would be to go beyond the orbit of the moon and into the cold void of deep space. Now, this might sound like the end of the world, but it's actually just the beginning of the story. You could keep traveling farther and farther away from the dying planet until the Earth becomes a tiny blue dot in the rearview mirror. And if you kept going, you eventually reach the next closest star system, Alpha Centauri, which is only 4.37 light years away. That's a long way to travel, but it might be worth it. According to research conducted in 2022, Alpha Centauri could have not one but two Earth-like planets in its habitable zone. These exoplanets orbit the stars Alpha Centauri and B, which together make up a binary system similar to our Sun. Either one of these planets could support life as we know it, meaning there could be intelligent alien species waiting to be discovered. Of course, even if you did manage to hitch a ride to Alpha Centauri, you wouldn't arrive anytime soon. The nearest star system is over for light years away, which means it would take you over for years to get there. Not that you'd really have anywhere to go when you arrived. There's no guarantee that Alpha Centauri has any planets in its habitable zone, let alone ones that could support human life. But that won't stop scientists from trying to find out. Using powerful new telescopes, researchers will scour the skies looking for signs of alien life. One promising candidate is the TRAPPIST-1 system, which has 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting a red dwarf star. At least 3 of these planets could have liquid water on their surface, and scientists have estimated that the system is only 40 light years away. It's not close by any means, but with the right technology, humans could travel there within a few decades. All this might sound far-fetched, but the reality is that space exploration is progressing faster than ever. NASA's Artemis program plans to establish a permanent base on the moon by 2030, and other organizations like SpaceX are already planning to colonize Mars. It's only a matter of time before humans spread to the stars. So what should you do if the Earth starts shrinking? Grab a shovel and start digging to China, because that is the only way to escape a collapsing planet. Unless you have a rocket ship ready to go, your best bet is to move to the moon or hitch a ride to Alpha Centauri. But even if you did, you'd be in for a long journey, because there's no such thing as outer space. Now check out the amazing technology that could save your life when the Earth ends, or watch this video instead.